Auzubillahiminashaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we are going to start with the first chapter of physiology, which is the internal environment. So first of all, physiology hota kya hai? Physiology is a science that seeks to explain the physical and chemical mechanism that are responsible for the origin, the development and progression of life. ये बहुत ज़्यादा important हो गया. Then we have human physiology. So, human physiology links the basic sciences with medicine and integrates multiple functions of the cells, tissues, and organs into the functions of living human beings. ये human physiology की हमारे पास definition आ गई. Now, for the most important definition, we have that the human beings, have a total of 40 trillion human cells. From these cells, 25 trillion are red blood cells. And microorganisms that live in our body and the microorganisms that live in the body, they are known as the microbiota, and there are 400 to 1000 types of microbiota, and they actually outnumber the human body cells. They also provide us with nutrition, immunity, and other functions that we need to discover. So अब हम नोट्स पे आ जाते हैं. So we can see here is that body में there are 35 to 40 trillion cells, and out of which there are 25 trillion red blood cells. And microbiota are microorganisms which inhabit in the form of symbionts. Symbionts, they provide nutrition and immunity, and they do not harm the body. और जो harm करते हैं, taking nutrients from the body, they are known as parasites. So for microbiota, that are the ones living in symbionts that get the nutritions for themselves as well and also give the nutrition to the body, there are 400 to 1000 species of such microorganisms, and they outnumber the human cells. Now we come towards the total body fluids. So we have extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid. So now consider that we have 100% of your body. From the 100%, 70% is fluid and 30% is solid. From the 70% fluid, intracellular fluid, which is inside the cell, it is 2/3, and extracellular fluid, which is outside the cell, it is 1/3. So extracellular fluid has sodium, chloride, bicarbonate, and nitrogen, etc., or nutrients. Whereas the intracellular fluid, it has potassium, phosphate, and magnesium. So here you can see in the interstitial fluid. So here you can further see that extracellular fluid consists of 1/4 of it is blood and 3/4 of it is interstitial fluid. So this interstitial fluid, it is now composed of waste, good substances, and the food products. So food products are amino acids, fatty acids, and protein. From related to the respiratory system, they are oxygen and carbon dioxide. Related to the kidney, they are sodium, chloride, and bicarbonate. These are actually ions which will be present in the interstitial fluid. So extracellular fluid, which is 1/3, it is further divided into blood, which is 1/4, and interstitial fluid, which is 3/4 of the total extracellular fluid. And in the interstitial fluid, we have oxygen, carbon dioxide, the food products, and certain ions and bicarbonate ions. Also, the term internal environment comes from the word milieu interior, which was coined by Sir Claude Bernard. It's very important. It sometimes is asked by certain Viva teachers. Now, what is homeostasis? Homeostasis is the maintenance of constant internal environment. And now we have certain ions that body needs to continuously regulate, which are hydrogen ions and sodium ions. So hydrogen ions, they are regulated at a level of 5 nanomoles per liter, whereas sodium ions are regulated at few millimoles per liter. Now, what is disease? Disease is a state of disrupted homeostasis. When homeostasis is disrupted, we get diseased. And then our body does certain regulatory mechanism to correct the homeostasis of our body. Now, we have the extracellular fluid, which was divided into the blood and the interstitial fluid. This extracellular fluid is in a state of constant motion. So extracellular fluid is in a state of constant motion, and it is due to the kinetic energy of molecules. So what is diffusion? अब diffusion क्यों होती है? ये constant motion इसका जो है वो diffusion ही है, और diffusion जो process है, it is beneficial, or it can take place up to 50 micrometer from the capillary. So कोई भी cell 50 micrometer से ज़्यादा away नहीं होता. So that's why diffusion is very good mechanism for the distribution of nutrients, waste products, and gases. Now we see origin of the nutrients in extracellular fluid. Extracellular fluid में हमने nutrients पढ़े थे. तो now we have respiratory system. Oxygen and carbon dioxide उससे हमने पढ़ा था. So oxygen is taken from the environment and carbon dioxide जो कि आपके पास metabolic process से produce हो रही है, it is released into the environment. और जो pulmonary capillaries हैं और alveolar membrane है उनमें जो difference है जिसमें से इसको traverse करके जाना है oxygen और carbon dioxide that is 0.4 to 2 micrometer. So diffusion जो है यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा easily हो सकती है. देन जो नेक्स्ट चीज़ हमने पढ़ी थी दैट वर सर्टेन न्यू carbohydrates, fatty acids and amino acids, and these are produced via the gastrointestinal tract which breaks the larger particles into the smaller ones. अब जो harmful products हैं, the waste products, they are actually eliminated by the liver which does the function of detoxification and removal of the waste products. And now we have the role of musculoskeletal system in the nutrition of the body. Musculoskeletal system actually protects us from the danger and helps the body to move towards the area of nutrition. जैसे कि food को खाएगा या किसी चीज़ की तरफ लाएगा तो musculoskeletal system is actually helpful in that. So we have studied respiratory system, the digestive system or the gastrointestinal system, and then the liver. And now the musculoskeletal system which provides us with motility. अब जो हमारे पास वेस्ट प्रोडक्ट्स हैं हमने उनको रिमूव करना है. वेस्ट प्रोडक्ट्स क्या हैं? फॉर एग्जांपल लंग्स हैं. लंग्स में ऑक्सीजन हमने टेकन की तो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड ऑब्वियसली मेटाबॉलिक प्रोडक्ट से प्रोड्यूस हो रही है तो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड विल गो आउट passing through the same alveolar membrane जिसकी thickness 0.4 से 0.2 माइक्रोमीटर थी. नाउ किडनीज ने क्या करना है? यूरिया, यूरिक एसिड, आयंस और वाटर वगैरह को हमारे पास इसने फिल्टर करना है एंड इट विल प्रोड्यूस यूरिन. So it is involved with filtration, reabsorption and secretion, and we have studied all these mechanisms. As a result of which glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, etc. they are reabsorbed, whereas urea, uric acid and other harmful substances are eliminated in the form of waste products and the urine. And also एक और चीज़ eliminate होती है that is keratinine. Now we have the gastrointestinal tract, the undigested material which is left behind, it is eliminated in the form of feces, and these feces they are passed from the rectum into the anus and then it moves out. Now liver does the detoxification and removal of drugs and harmful substances, और वो जो है उसको secrete करेगा into the bile which is eliminated into the feces. You can look at these notes. The nutritional supplies by the respiratory system, the gastrointestinal tract, the liver, the musculoskeletal system, and how would the waste products be removed? The waste products by the kidney, by the liver, by detoxification, undigested products in the form of feces, and carbon dioxide, which is eliminated via the alveolar membrane, passing through the alveolar membrane from the capillary blood to the outside of environment by expiration. Now, after nutrition and removal of the waste products, we have the process of regulation of body function. We have the nervous system and the hormonal system. अब nervous system क्या है? It consists of the brain and the spinal cord. और इसमें क्या है? Sensory input आएगा, उसको central nervous system integrative portion जो है उसमें integration करेगा और motor output के ज़रिए वो एक produce करेगा response. Sensory receptors हमारे जो sense organs है they will detect a change, the change will be integrated in the brain and the spinal cord, and then we will have production of a response. और जो हमारे पास nervous system है it is further divided into somatic and autonomic system. और somatic जो है वो हमारे सारे voluntary actions को control करता है, whereas autonomic controls involuntary system, और autonomic system में हमारे पास fight and flight response भी आ जाता है. Now hormonal system is actually composed of certain glands, और वो glands exocrine भी होते हैं and endocrine भी, and these glands produce hormones, and these hormones then they control different bodily functions. For example, we have the thyroid hormone which will produce thyroxine to increase or decrease the metabolic rate. We have the parathyroid hormone which will produce parathormone which will regulate the calcium ions, adrenal cortex which will produce corticosteroids, and pancreas which will produce insulin which will reduce the glucose or maintain the glucose balance. And hormones में हमेशा endocrine glands and exocrine glands, and endocrine glands are the ones which have no ducts, whereas exocrine glands are ducted glands. After nutrition, removal of the waste products, regulation of the body function, we have protection of the body, and for that purpose we have the immune system. Immune system consists of mainly white blood cells which are produced in the thymus, lymph nodes, and the lymph vessels. These white blood cells distinguish its own body cells from the harmful substances, phagocytose the invader, or produce specialized proteins which are antibodies against the invader. The immune system, which consists of white blood cells, which provide protection. The T cells and B cells. B cells will produce antibodies, whereas the T cells, they will be cytotoxic or suppressive or helper, and they will perform their side-by-side functions. Now, integumentary system, they are skin and its appendages, and also glands. The glands are sweat glands and sebaceous glands, whereas appendages are nail, hair, etc. And skin it's the largest organ. It covers 10 to 15% of the total body. To maintain the human population and to maintain the survival of a species, we have the process of reproduction, which helps to increase the human population and maintain its number. Now we have certain control system of the body. The control system, they actually control the level of oxygen, carbon dioxide, arterial blood pressure, and normal ranges of certain ions. So सबसे पहले जो हमारा control system है, it will regulate the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide concentration in the extracellular fluid. अब जो oxygen की concentration है, अब हमें पता है oxygen is very much important for metabolic processes. So oxygen is carried by hemoglobin and it is stored in the red blood cells. And hemoglobin, it also transports and also stores the oxygen, and myoglobin is also there. But when the oxygen concentration in the body, it is decreased, जो oxygen myoglobin के साथ attached है, it will be released into the blood, and in this way we will re-establish adequate concentration of oxygen. And oxygen की जो regulation है, it is called oxygen buffering function of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin और myoglobin दोनों oxygen को release करते हैं, और इसके ज़रिए oxygen की जो amount है, अगर वो कम हुई है body में, तो वो normally regulate होती है, and this is a regulatory mechanism, and this one is called the oxygen buffering function of hemoglobin or myoglobin, if we consider that. अब oxygen was required for metabolic processes, whereas the byproduct of metabolic processes is carbon dioxide, which is produced from the oxidative reactions. And these oxidative reactions, they produce this byproduct which has to be eliminated from the body. And since we know carbon dioxide एक ऐसी substance है जो blood में add होगी तो it will decrease the blood's pH further, तो हमारे पास acidity cause करेगी, तो हमारे पास there is a respiratory center which in the medulla which actually rapidly and deeply responds to this increasing amount of carbon dioxide to eliminate it via the process of expiration. So in this notes, you can see carbon dioxide increases, as a result of which vasomotion increases. The vasomotor center in the medulla, it is switched on and it causes hyperventilation or increased breathing, which lowers the carbon dioxide levels and maintains its normal concentration in the body. Now let us have a look at this diagram. नीचे आपको नजर आ रही है arch of aorta. Above the arch of aorta we have the carotid sinus. In the carotid sinus we have the baroreceptors. अब ये जो baroreceptors की location मैंने आपको बताई है, they will actually control the blood pressure. Let me show you how. So in this flow chart you can clearly see that your brain, medulla of the vasomotor centers, they detect an error signal. And as a result of it, the sympathetic nervous system is activated. It causes increased amount of pressure in the blood vessels in the heart. This increased blood vessels and heart pressure, it increases the arterial pressure, as a result of which the baroreceptors that I've showed you, which were located at the bifurcation of the carotid arteries in the arch of aorta, they are stimulated, and as a result of which it sends a feedback signal, and hence the blood pressure returns to its normal level. So here we have the baroreceptor system located at the bifurcation of the carotid arteries in the arch of aorta in the thorax. These baroreceptors are stimulated by the stretch of the arterial walls, and when the arterial pressure or the blood pressure is too high, the baroreceptors, they send messages to medulla of the brain. Medulla में vasomotor center है, which in turn decreases the number of impulses transmitted टू डिक्रीज द ब्लड प्रेशर, एंड जब इम्पल्सेस नहीं होंगी सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम सुप्रेस कर जाएगा, डिक्रीज पंपिंग एक्टिविटी ऑफ द हार्ट होएगी, तो इसकी वजह से डिक्रीज ब्लड प्रेशर, डिक्रीज आर्टीरियल प्रेशर होगा, एंड डिक्रीज आर्टीरियल प्रेशर की वजह से हमारे पास ब्लड वेसल्स जो हैं वो भी रिलैक्स करेंगी, एंड हेंस heart pumping will also be reduced and the blood pressure will return to its normal value. And this mechanism is known as a negative feedback mechanism because जो रेस ब्लड प्रेशर था उसको हमने डिक्रीज किया है. दिस मैकेनिज्म एक्चुअली रिड्यूसेस द ओरिजिनल स्टिमुलस इज नोन एज अ नेगेटिव फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म. नाउ लेट्स कम टू द नोट्स. उस नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में लिखा हुआ था अबाउट पोटाशियम आइंस, कैल्शियम आइंस एंड ग्लूकोज. सो पोटाशियम आइंस, फॉर द पोटाशियम आइंस वी हैव हाइपोकैलीमिया, डिक्रीज इन द पोटाशियम आइंस. अगर उनका लेवल 1/3 डिक्रीज हो जाएगा वी विल हैव पैरालिसिस. और हाइपरकैलीमिया, इंक्रीज पोटाशियम आइंस, इफ इट इंक्रीजेज टू 2 or 3 times इट्स नॉर्मल वैल्यू, हार्ट मसल विल बी डिप्रेस्ड. इसको हम कहते हैं कार्डियक वीकनेस. नाउ हाइपो एंड हाइपरकैल्सीमिया. हाइपरकैल्सीमिया, इंक्रीज्ड अमाउंट ऑफ कैल्शियम विड लीड टू किडनी स्टोन्स. और अगर कैल्शियम कम हो रहा है तो इसकी वजह से हमारे पास हो गया टेक्निक कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस. हाइपोग्लाइसीमिया, जब ग्लूकोज का लेवल कम हो जाता है तो वी विल हैव कन्वर्जन्स एंड मेंटल इरिटेबिलिटी बिकॉज ऑफ दैट.